Are they not safe because of other, you know, other cases that they are still facing, in the country? Or they know whoever is behind the mastermind behind the actual assassin, well, the actual killing of these two gentlemen, will be the one that will maybe or allegedly eliminate them so that this case and other cases don't go any further? Or is it specifically for this one that they are fearing for their lives? Because, there's a lot of speculation that has been making rounds in terms of why it's taken so long for these killers to be found by by law enforcement when they've committed a crime. So there's a lot, and I think we'd rather wait until the law takes its place and the investigations to go on. I don't know, but it is what it is. At the end of the day, it's the law that will determine whether they are guilty or not based on the evidence that they have collected and they have in the file, as the case, proceeds. Anyway, moving right along now into politics. So the AFP is preparing for its launch of its election manifesto in Durban today, and they say it's doing it for founding leader Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi the late. The party goes to elections for the first time without Buthelezi, who passed away last year in September. Sure. It seems like a long time. I think abanye abantu sebeyilibele. Because I remember when I was in KZN this past week, I kept on saying the posters of the IFP because I don't think I've seen any this side. If it's a corner, I probably have missed them because I think in my mind there's more following within the KZN province, Gauteng. I'm not sure about our province, but nonetheless, I was reminded that the late Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, is no longer with us, and I kind of it kind of gave me a reality check that the people that that are founders or have been in politics since its inception, since before we were born, some of us, are no longer with us. It kind of, I remember I was saying to a friend that there is I think it's a portrait, but there is a picture that has all the former leaders of the struggle, and most of them, in fact, all of them are no longer with us at this point in time. All right, before I digress further, so the Western Cape MEC for Community Safety and Police Oversight, Regan Allen, says the search for the Saldanha Bay girl has been extended beyond the Western Cape, and it's just a matter of time before Jocelyn, who is 6, is found. The 6-year-old went missing from a home in an informal settlement in Middelbos, Saldanha Bay, on the 19th of February. And Jocelyn Smith's mother, her boyfriend, a friend, and an alleged traditional healer stood in the dock in connection with the 6-year-old's disappearance this week. The four have been charged with human trafficking and kidnapping. The case has been postponed to the 13th of March, which is this coming Wednesday, and the suspects have been remanded in custody. So last week I did, I did mention the kidnap, or not the kidnapping, or the girl, the missing girl, who's 6 years old. And all along, the boyfriend said he doesn't know what happened. He had thought that she was with the friends, blah, 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 blah. And my question always stood, if you're an adult and the 6-year-old is not home by a certain time, what goes through your mind? And then he pleaded that he's not well, he wouldn't be involved in such a heinous, crime or deed. But now he's one of the suspects, for me, it was not a surprise. And I'm not sure into esangoma eyangenaphi, whether she's the one that facilitated, if that is the case, that she was basically sold off, because that's the story that has been making rounds, that the mother sold her off for 20,000 rand, basically. And why would you sell your child? He works for 20,000. Why would you sell your child, like, in the first place, let alone the monetary gain that supposedly has lured you into entertaining even that, request or that topic, like, do you despise having a child that much that you want to sell the child off? Why not return the child to the father? If the father doesn't want the child, then take the child to your siblings, where at least she will have a good, foundation, a good family structure at least, because even foster care, I don't know, my personal opinion, I don't think I would love for my child to ever end up in foster care, because along the way, we hear horrendous stories of what foster children, get to experience in these foster homes, you know. Okay, I see there. Oh, Frank Gallo, Kate Gallo says, stay with guys in Cape Town. Hi, Frank, who's listening from Cape Town. Hope you're having a good Sunday. And on to the other story, to the next story. So the Hawks have confirmed a raid at the South African Football Association's office, SAFA, in Nazareth, south of Johannesburg. So the serious commercial crime investigation, which basically where the Hawks fall under, says it executed a search and seizure warrant. The warrant was promoted by allegations of fraud and theft amounting to 1.3 million rands. It's alleged that between 2014 and 2018, SAFA President Danny Jordan used the organization's resources for his personal gain. This includes hiring a private security company for his protection and employing a public relations company without the authorization from the SAFA board. So basically, those are the allegations that have been put against SAFA president. I guess this is still a developing story, and apparently there were laptops, there were. Why do I always forget memory sticks? Yes, I don't use them that often. I only use them once a week when I come to the studio. So yeah, that's why I always forget the name memory stick. So there's quite a lot of assets that were seized as part of the investigations, of this allegation. And the Independent Electoral Commission, which is the IEC, says it will put stringent measures in place following the leak of candidate lists. The lists of the ANC and MK were leaked on Friday night, and the IEC preliminary investigation suggests it was an internal leak. I mean, it's obvious that if a list, gets leaked, especially if it's an authorized list of various parties, it will be an inside job. So someone in the IEC has been paid to, to leak, to see, I guess, whoever it is, whether it's the opposition or the main contesting party, they want to know whom they are up against so that they can maybe up the ante of campaigning. I don't know. But there's a lot of competition. I think I don't know how many parties, like more than 20 parties, and there's, I think, like 6 independent candidates or something like that. But also the list of independent candidates has increased from the previous election. I think the previous elections. Yeah, there is an increase from the previous elections of independent. Yeah. So that's quite interesting because we are seeing many election manifestos being launched almost every weekend now. And I did mention last week that we are going to see like a long list of political parties launching their manifestos because everyone just wants to be in the running for the next national elections. They want their seats in parliament as well. Everyone must share. Everyone must get their piece of the pie, basically. And yesterday, which was on Saturday, Al Jama leader Hanif Hendricks launched his party's manifesto in Indonesia, south of Johannesburg. The party was formed in 2007 and has contested the 2009, 2014, and 2019 national elections. That I must say, I didn't know. I think to my ignorance, I always, like when I go through the ballot paper, like you can see the ballot paper, it's like got like a compressed long list of political parties, like 39 or 69 or 100, I don't know. But there's a lot. And I remember I was laughing the one time while I was in my Solonyana box wanting to cast my vote, like my vote there on the ballot paper. I was like, yo, I haven't seen the Kiss Party. I think the last time I heard of the Kiss Party, I think it was in 2004 or something. I can't recall. But it was a long time ago. I was like, oh my gosh. I think it was in 1994 and then again after the 5 years, yes. But anyway, I think to my ignorance, I never really looked for. I think this time around, I'll go through the list and just take my time and just look at who's contesting for these elections, this year, for the sixth. Is it the sixth administration that will be coming now after these elections? Yes, I think so. So, yeah. And then moving right along from politics, Thabo Bester has joined Nandi Pamakutumana in threatening to take action against Showmax, which is a streaming service, which is part of MultiChoice, over its planned documentary on them. They want their legal teams to view the documentary before it airs, or she will be taking the broadcaster to court. Through their lawyers, they both claim that they did not grant any right, permission, or authority to any party to film, produce, and stream a documentary in their name. The duo also alleges no personal interviews were held with them. This, they say, raises concerns regarding the accuracy and correctness of their version, which stands to be shown in the documentary series. So basically, they are fighting this, Showmax, the streaming service, that is planning on airing their documentary series pretty soon, probably maybe sometime, maybe end of this month or beginning of next month. And I don't know, should they have a say on what gets aired? Because don't you think maybe they will edit it to their advantage and not what has been reported by law enforcement? Because if you remember, Uma Kotumana is standing her ground that she was illegally, extradited or deported or taken away from Tanzania. And in the same breath, she says, she was scared of Thabo Bester, so she had to do what she had to do so that nothing happens to her. So those statements are quite contradictory, if you really listen to them or you read about them, Are they gonna turn it around and say there was nothing wrong that they did? Everything was above board, And yeah, so I don't know. I guess this would be because now it's handled by the lawyers, it is a legal matter. So I guess a judge will have to make a decision on that one. And for people that are behind bars, they sure have lots of money to pay good lawyers, And it's the same way that these accused are the 5 suspects accused of being involved in the killing of Utebs and AKA. They have very expensive and good advocates, attorneys, or lawyers, like it raises eyebrows. Who is funding these people? Like, surely someone with big bags and lots of bags of money is behind their, you know, them having a good legal, representation. But at the end of the day, it depends, who you're involved with and who's got your back and who's willing to fight for you, regardless of what you did. But I always say, whenever there's big honchos when it comes to lawyers, big honcho lawyers, big bulldog lawyers, there's a lot that needs to be covered. That's always my take. Even if I'm watching a movie, when you see that there's big guns, who are in your legal corner, you must know there's a lot. It's beyond clearing your name. It's basically making sure that whatever that you have done that is so heinous, doesn't get to see the light of day. But yeah, I'll leave it at that. So Gauteng Finance MEC has announced the province has reached an agreement with the South African National Road Agency, SANRAL. This is on the payment of the 4.1 billion e-toll debt. SANRAL is responsible for over 23,000 kilometers of the country's roads. It's injecting billions of rands to maintain and revamp several of these roads. And I've been seeing that some people are actually questioning what this agreement is about because it hasn't given that much clarity. And I guess it's going to be unraveled as the days and the weeks go on where does this put the the drivers, owners of vehicles. And I know that Outer has made a statement. It did make a statement last week that if you get a judgment or a letter, threatening of judgment or being handed over, you must contact them, So clearly they know something other people don't know. So yeah, I just hope that people cannot be handed over because of something they never really asked for. And yeah, I think there's other ways that, ratepayers or motorists can. I mean, the toll gates that we have, surely with the, amount of people traveling, surely they do have some sort of revenue that they collect that should be, to a certain extent, maybe sufficient. But you cannot be having e-tolls. Imagine someone driving from Joburg to Sandton every day or from Joburg to Pretoria every day, because you do have those jobs that you were based in Joburg and then now you're expected, and then you get a job in Pretoria and be like, you know what, it's fine, I'll commute every day. I'm not gonna sell my house here and go and buy another house in Pretoria. I do have colleagues that travel from Gauteng to Pretoria, I mean from Joburg to Pretoria on a daily basis. And yeah, people are crying. And then in international news, okay, I think maybe international news, I will leave them for, yeah, towards the end. So President Cyril Ramaphosa has officially given the boot to judges John Hlophe and Ngola Mudada. We did this in accordance with the Constitution and as a resolution by the National Assembly. Hlophe, Judge President of the Western Cape High Court, was removed from his position. Meanwhile, and I think I came across a story during the course of the week, he forfeits some of his benefits. I'm not sure if it's the pension, but there is a forfeiture of his benefits now that he's being removed from office. Meanwhile, retired Judge Mudada was ousted due to gross misconduct dating back from a drug driving conviction in 2009. I don't know who can forget about that story and that particular picture. The National Assembly's vote to remove the judges required two-thirds majority, as outlined in Section 177 of the Constitution. Yeah, Ekamudata, I think it was kind of long overdue for something that happened in what, 2024? So something that happened almost 15 years ago. Yeah, about 15 years ago now. Yeah, jeez. Must say the Lord does take its own course. But nonetheless, at the end of the day, yeah, I guess the president has the power to remove certain people in the judiciary, whereby a minister or anyone else, doesn't have the power to do that. So the Hawks have arrested three more suspects for corruption linked to the VBS Mutual Bank saga involving over 148 million rands. The suspects include an acting municipal manager, CFO, for the Greater Giyani local municipality and a local business person. The bank was declared insolvent and bankrupt and placed under curatorship in 2018. I think this story was sad because there's lots of people that had put their money there and other organs of state that had put their money there. If you remember very well, back in the old days, apartheid times, where we had the former homelands, the so-called TBVC state. Each TBVC state had its own building society, like basically Ipangyabo, because I know we had this Sky Building Society, which is basically, I think, the model for VBS. I think VBS, maybe it's one of those that kind of rebooted the, building societies of the yesteryear. It's a good model. However, if it's not managed by people with good intentions, then yeah, I guess maybe it's kind of an example if we would have. I'm not saying we're not capable, but I guess that's why most people are sticking to the commercial banks. Not saying that one day maybe we'll wake up with our money's gone in the bank from the commercial banks, but if you're gonna have people that are greedy and they want to always take money, they feel they're entitled to it, or they feel that they can take the money regardless of who has put in, who has deposited money into that account, into that particular bank. So it was a good model, but yeah, it was under very not so disciplined hands, if I can put it like that. And yeah, I'm not sure if the people that lost their money were compensated. I don't know, but very, very touchy story. And back to politics, the UDM leader Bantu Olomisa is calling for National Assembly Speaker Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula to be investigated over the allegations of bribery leveled against her. She's accused by a businesswoman of accepting bribes amounting to 2.3 million rands during her time as defense minister. Mapisa-Nqakula is said to be named in an affidavit made to the investigative directorate. So, as I had alluded last week, that whenever we're going to have elections and there's contestation, we are going to come across this story. We are going to come across them, and I think it's just the beginning of more stories to come. If it's not bribery, there's going to be certain associations with certain people. And yeah, so for me, it's not surprising that you're going to get allegations against certain members, certain politicians in general, especially those that are in the limelight, that are always, people can always easily recognize. And the South Africa's Companies and Intellectual Property Commission, which is the CIPC, has reported a security breach in which personal information has been compromised. As a way of limiting further damage, some CIPC systems have been shut down. It's something that I always say that, how tight is our cybersecurity when it comes to, protecting information. We had the POPIA Act, and somehow I had assumed that companies will have stringent measures when it comes to, cybersecurity, in their organizations, where obviously the sensitive information that might be exposed. Because if you look into the IPC, there are many people that have registered their businesses there, and there are people who don't want, their details to be exposed, or and now this happens. So there's a lot that still needs to be done in our country or within the organs of state. And, even with private organizations, cybersecurity should be something that is of high priority, whereby hackers don't get easy access. In fact, they don't get access at all. And I always say, even if we do, there are people who can still hack the CIA and, other intelligence intelligence of organizations. So somewhere along the lines, cybersecurity should be made a priority, and more tighter measures should be put in place. Yeah, but yeah, it's been leaked, so I'm sure we're gonna see information that will be, that somehow this, whenever there's, in leaking information, it always somehow gets around social media. Then you get to see who owns which business and who are some of the directors within that company. And then NSFAS has assured beneficiaries their funding won't be delayed. Last year, thousands of students at several universities and Tibet colleges were left stranded due to the failure to pay allowances on time. NSFAS recently made upfront payments to all institutions, entrusting them to pay students their February and March allowances directly. Yeah, hopefully it's gonna stay like that, and institutions will also not fall for, they won't also take that they won't take the direction that the previous service provider did, whereby they delayed, and to the suffering of of students. And I read somewhere, I think 2 weeks ago, that there was some delay in processing of information by the university, whereby the student was a returning student but under NSFAS, and she needed to submit her documents to NSFAS, and then there was a delay from the university, and then somewhere along the way, so basically she's in limbo. But hopefully, if the university cares for its student, then they will rectify, and then NSFAS and the university need to come to some sort of an agreement whereby the student will get what is due to them, for their fees, especially if you're doing your last year. You don't want something like that to hinder you into finishing your studies. And then moving further afield, President Joe Biden announced on Thursday in a major operation as Israel holds up deliveries on the ground that the U.S. military will establish a temporary port off Gaza's coast to bring in desperately needed aid. Announcing the initiative in his annual State of the Union address, Biden pleaded with Israel to let more assistance into the blockaded territory, even as he defended its military operations against Hamas. The aid operations comes after the United States carried out several days of airdrops of aid into Gaza, coordinated with Israel. I don't know who have seen the videos and photos that are making rounds of very malnutrition children, like very heartbreaking. As much as South Africa, was accused of basically saying that, there's a genocide. I know they were making it as if we're exaggerating the situation, or, we are trying to make Israel look bad. Those pictures make them look bad regardless, because if you are not committing genocide and wiping out a certain nation Because if you're going to let people stop, why are you holding off aid? Because now they're going to say, no, it's the Hamas, they are the ones that are not, that hijack these trucks and. Surely, there should be some sort of um, agreement or some sort of way whereby people need to get food at the end of the day. So, like, there was a caption that I saw on someone's Instagram status that says, the children are looking up, there's a child that's looking up in the sky. And the caption says he doesn't know whether it's what will drop is his food or his death, basically, whether it's a bomb or it's food. And you also had, so I just didn't want to watch that video. It's a like 30-second video, but it is just painful to watch. So, and I also read somewhere that Biden has called for Hamas to call for a ceasefire before Ramadan. I think Ramadan starts on Tuesday or tomorrow. I'm not sure. I stand to be corrected. So, yeah, because it's a peaceful period if you are following the Islamic religion. So, yeah, there has to be some sort of a ceasefire, and there's just too much unnecessary deaths and killing at this point in time, because now you survived being bombed and then you're being starved. Are you not wiping out a nation? Like, it's a debate that some will disagree, some will agree. So, yeah. And then to another international story that made news. So, I don't know if you've been following what is happening in Haiti. So, a powerful Haitian gang leader warned on Tuesday that the chaos engulfing the capital, Port-au-Prince, will lead to civil war and a genocide unless Prime Minister Ariel Henry steps down. And the stark comments from Jimmy Cherizet, known as Barbecue, came as Henry appeared to be struggling to fly home with the main airport under attack and neighboring Dominican Republic refusing permission for him to land. Henry, who was supposed to step down last month, was out of the country last week when armed criminal gangs who control large swathes of the country launched a coordinated assault to oust him. Haiti, I don't know. It's too much. It's a lot. It's a lot, because they had, was it hurricane? What was it, a hurricane? But they also had a natural disaster the one year, and I think ever since then things have not been the same. It's just been from bad to worse. And then another depressing story. I'm not sure if you all remember a flight MH370. So it's been 10 years after the disappearance of Malaysian Airlines flight MH370, and families are still in limbo. So despite the largest search in aviation history, which combed 120,000 square meters of the seafloor of the southern Indian Ocean, only a few fragments of the Boeing 777-200ER plane have been found. Ahead of the 10th anniversary of the aviation disaster, Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim said he was prepared to reopen the search for the missing plane if compelling evidence emerged. So, there's been conspiracy theories about what had happened to that flight, to that plane. I don't know. And when I was flying to Durban on Monday, I was having, like, thoughts of, like, I don't know, it's just something that I must stop doing. Like, what could go wrong in the air when you're on a flight? And I was thinking, if anything could happen, would they find the remains of the plane that you're in if we basically, maybe an engine burst and we lose control and we crash into the sea? Would they find the black box, the fragments of the remains of the flight and because you wonder if they only found like a few pieces of what has been found, like the families, you lost your loved one so many years ago, but there's no closure. There's nothing to say, here lays so and so. Even if it's like an arm or something, I don't know, but it's have has enough work been done to collect evidence? I don't know. But people are still reeling from the disappearance of that particular plane. And it makes me think of series like Manifest, where plane disappears and the passengers in the plane, they think it was just turbulence. Meanwhile, on the ground, it's been years that they have been missing. Imagine the turbulence, but it alters the year like to 3 years. So you come back, you're thinking that you were only in turbulence for like 20 minutes. Meanwhile, it's been like 3 years. That is scary, very scary. And then the final story, Ghana's finance ministry has advised President Nana Akufo-Addo against endorsing a highly contested anti-LGBTQ bill, warning that it could end up with the financially strapped country losing billions of dollars in the World Bank Fund. Lawmakers last week approved the bill aimed at severely curtailing LGBTQ rights, drawing condemnation from rights activists despite gaining wide support in the conservative West African state. It stipulates jail terms of 6 months to 3 years for engaging in LGBTQ sex and sentences of between 3 to 5 years for promoting or sponsoring LGBTQ activities. So basically, they are being given a gag order in a way, but as the finance ministry has alluded that the country tends to lose out quite a lot if they do go ahead with this. But at the end of the day, countries have their own laws to uphold, they have their own laws to enforce, and some are popular, some are not. However, must now people not live their own lives freely? That's the question, because sexual orientation is a choice. If you decide you want to be in the LGBTQ plus, you know, society, it's your choice, but there are countries that are intolerant of such, and you feel sorry for the people that now have to basically stay in the closet, if I can put it mildly, so it's painful. However, that's what is going to be passed as law. And is it at the detriment of losing funding? If you are dealing with someone that doesn't mind losing funding because they are set in their ways of sticking to their decision, then maybe those people will end up now maybe immigrating to other countries where they will live their lives freely, And if someone is so extreme, because you will get like maybe in certain families whereby they'll say, and if on top of that, are they gonna go to as far as saying that if you are LGBTQ plus, if you leave the country, must never come back. They don't want to even see your remains, mustn't come back, because that's how extreme basically it sounds. Yeah. But yeah, each country to their own rules and laws, I guess. But that was all for from the current affairs desk at this point in time. So I hope you are updated and you are informed about what has been taking place during the course of the week. And with all that information, we can just unwind to some music. I'll be giving you a triple play for the next few minutes. Hope you enjoy. as you are relaxing and you are unwinding. Please tell us how's your Sunday is and how's it going. You can WhatsApp us on 066 137 2723. You can chat to us via our Facebook page on Keeping It Safe Radio Facebook page, and you can comment on the YouTube channel of Keeping It Safe Radio. But for now, we're gonna go into music.